Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Stark. I am the economics teacher at Heron High School. Since I'm talking to parents, I can say I'm Matt Stark. Um, Not that Mr. Stark. I like to show my students that to kind of embrace the last name that I share with one of the Marvel characters. But welcome to my video. I'm going to explain a little bit about myself, my background, education, family, hobbies. And then I'm going to share a little bit about what economics is going to cover, especially being we're starting online. So let's get started. Here is my contact info. Email mstark@heronhighschool.org, and we are on Google Classroom now. Your student is automatically enrolled in my economics class if they have me for economics, so you should have no problem. Just make sure that you're logged into their Gmail account, go to Google Classroom, and then it should. And that phone number is for the front desk at Heron for eventually when we get back in person. And then they'll direct you to my classroom. So a little bit about me. I graduated from Indiana Wesleyan University in 2006 with a Bachelor of Arts degrees in political science and history. First job out of college, I was a police officer up in Noblesville for less than a year. Wasn't quite the right fit for me, I found out, but I did, go through the full 16-week course. Drove cars fast, got pummeled by our defensive tactics instructor, got shot by little bullets with plastic tips on them, pepper sprayed, tasered, all those fun things. But again, wasn't really I can see myself making it a career. So I got into teaching shortly after that, got my license, and haven't looked back since. This is my 13th year in the classroom, my 5th year at Heron. I've taught Econ every year at Heron. I also have a master's degree in history from Indiana University in Indianapolis. I studied early modern religious history, so the Reformation, late medieval religious history, that area. And I also have a certification as a personal fitness trainer. Exercising is a hobby, and I kind of made it into an extra income source potentially by getting my certification. Family. I was married in 2010. So my wife Sherry and I just celebrated our 10-year anniversary this summer. We have two boys, Braxton, who is 6, and Grant is 3. Braxton's in first grade, and Grant is in preschool, if that makes any sense. And we have 2 cats, Smokey and Cora. Here's my wife and I. The only real trip we took this summer when the coronavirus counts went down, we went to Michigan City, to Lake Michigan. The boys had never been to a beach before. And there are the 2 boys on the way to Michigan City, both very excited to be on a beach for the first time. That is Braxton with the thumbs up, and that is Grant with his little kind of stinker face that he does when he knows he's being photographed. I really enjoy reading. I'm a big reader. I always have a big stack of books on my bedside table. Church history and theology. I enjoy movies. I've already discussed movies with my students this year. I love Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, Harry Potter books. I had to learn a lot of foreign languages when in grad school. One of them being Latin, so I can definitely empathize with your students. Struggles they might have in studying Latin. It was a challenge for me, but it was definitely rewarding once I was able to actually read documents in Latin. And for economics. Economics is a semester course in the state of Indiana, and it covers both macroeconomics, the big picture, and microeconomics, the little picture. These are just some of the things that we study. We start with the very basic, what is economics, which we're going to start talking about, the first couple weeks. We talk about trade-offs, opportunity costs. We talk about how people make decisions in economics. Supply and demand. There's a whole standard on supply and demand where we look at what are the things that cause supply or demand to go down, and what are some of the real-life situations that's going on now where supply and demand directly impact it. We talk a lot about ways in which economists measure whether our economy is healthy or not. Things like gross domestic product, inflation rates. We talk about poverty rates, the business cycle, how that fits into what's going on now in our economy. We also talk about the economic systems. That's one of the first things we talk about. So, command economies, communism, market economies, and everything in between, where we fit in on that and why. We talk about taxes. Talk about, I show students a paycheck stub, not mine, but a sample one, and show them just what each tax being taken out means and how that applies to them as well. And we talk about trade. And something that's not mentioned a lot on here, but we do emphasize, is personal finance. It is my goal for every student when they leave class to know how to keep budgets, the difference between credit cards, debit cards, what are some predatory loan practices to avoid, especially in the student loan world? Talk a little bit about the stock market, how it works, what are some just general guidelines on do's and do nots in the stock market, and just some very basic things about how banks work, how paying mortgages on a house works. So when they leave this course, they at least are familiar with the terms that they're going to face going into college and then after college as well. So we do a lot of articles because economics is always current. There's always a way to apply it to current events. Economics affects all areas of life, I tell them. So we do a lot of current event articles on things that are happening, including the coronavirus, which has had a large impact on our economy, which it has been tough, but there's also some hope for the future as well, so I don't just give them sort of the depressing picture. We do PowerPoints and notes. Some of that is going to be on videos that I do voiceovers that they will do before class, so we don't just spend most of the class just taking notes. We answer questions. There are assorted videos, especially ones that talk about more current events, so students can get the information not just from me, their teacher, but from actual economists and experts in the field. Economics is a very debatable topic. There's lots of things like minimum wage, public health care, different ways of taxing people, all of those things that are very debated in the world of economists. We talk about some of those and just kind of throw those topics out for students to sort of chew on and think of where they fall on those spectrums. And a lot of class discussions. And on Zoom, it's going to, a lot of class discussions in the form of using the chat features, but also giving students a chance to unmute themselves and talk about their opinions, their perspectives, and their concerns as well. So hopefully that gives you just a brief overview of who I am, as well as what the course is going to include. We do have quizzes or tests after every standard. There are 8 standards, so there'll be 8 unit tests for mastery points. And all of those will be placed on Google Classroom well ahead of time. Students will also receive study guides in Google Forms, which will be for a grade, to help them prepare for the tests as well. The tests are usually a mix of multiple choice, short answer, and the occasional essay. So hopefully that gives you some information. Feel free to email me if you have any concerns. I'm more than glad to discuss any concerns or questions you have. Have a great day.